Well, I'm very happy to have my dear friend from Hawaii visiting here today on the Bragg Organic Farm in Santa Barbara, California.
Thank you for having me.
Well, now Richard Diehl is very famous, is a natural healer, and he speaks at conventions. Now tell me, what have you been up to?
Well, I was just down in Cabo San Lucas working with a group of Mexican patients who have a variety of diseases and illnesses and problems, and I go back down there again in a few months. I go down and treat them every few months.
How wonderful,
It
Richard.
is.
And Cabo San Lucas, Bill Galt, who started the Good Earth restaurant chain when he started reading a Bragg book years ago, has a home in Cabo San Lucas. And I remember I donated money for them they had a problem with overflow of cats and dogs. And so therefore, I set up a mobile veterinarian truck.
Really?
And we
Wow.
had veterinarians that came down. They would spend 2 weeks at a time, and they would go on the mobile truck and treat the dogs and the cats.
How wonderful. Well, you wouldn't recognize Cabo anymore. It's so built up now. It's just remarkable how much they've built, and they're continuing. It's quite changed everywhere, but especially there.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, now tell us the group that you spoke to there. The group, though,
The group I'm about to go speak to in Portland next week is the Nutritional Therapy Association, and their 8th or 9th annual conference is happening the weekend of March 19th, and I'll be their keynote speaker. I'm speaking on communication. You know, I do NLP as part of my work,
explain what that is.
neuro-linguistic programming. And of course I could go on for hours because I teach classes for weekends and week-long, but in a nutshell, the concept is that language leads consciousness, which means if I say don't think of pink elephants, what do you think of? If I say, Patricia, you should come see me as a practitioner. I promise you I've never been convicted of murder or mayhem or trouble or problems. You're going to say, oh yeah, I want to come see you, right? So when you use poor language, you get poor results. So I teach people how to speak more effectively.
That's wonderful. Well, I think the whole world needs that. My father, Paul Bragg, the originator of health food stores in 1912, said you are what you eat, what you eat and drink, walks and talks tomorrow. And what you say, woo, put it to the test. Is it good? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And my golly, you can ruin a marriage, you can ruin a friendship, you can get fired from your job if you have a fight with your boss.
Good, kind, and necessary. I love it.
It's good. It's good as kind of, before you speak. Words are living, Richard.
Yes, indeed.
Richard,
and they
that's
have
so
an impact
true.
on the speaker as well as the listener.
Oh my dear, that's right.
If I do what Zig Ziglar calls stinking thinking,
yeah,
pretty soon I'm sick.
That's Zig Ziglar something.
And I need even more of your products.
That's right, that's right. Now go on, tell us more.
Well, you and I have known each other more than 15 years, and of course we went to Australia and spent time on your fabulous farm down there near Brisbane. An incredible place, beautiful native species and the things you've started growing there.
Yes.
It's quite the place, quite the retreat.
Well, I'm very happy about my Australian Bragg farm. My father promoted health in Australia. When he went down there, there weren't any health food stores. And Dad got health food stores, started in Australia, then New Zealand. We had an office in Sydney. And that was over 60 years ago, Richard.
Wow.
And so, it was so wonderful. And one young man who heard my father and I speak at the Sydney Town Hall came to see me last year at the Natural Foods Expo in Anaheim.
Which is happening in a week or two,
That's
isn't
right. It's the biggest convention, it's the biggest health convention in the world.
I'd love to come, but I'll be in the wrong direction.
Well, people are coming from all over the world, from New Zealand, Australia. Well, last year, a man came. He came with his wife, his children, his grandchildren. And guess what? He said, Patricia, I was 17 years old when I heard you and your dad speak at the Sydney Town Hall.
Wow.
And my golly, I went to, your dad was just getting health food stores started all over. and I got a part-time job in a health food store, and I now own 60 health food stores.
No
I
kidding.
have a chain of them.
Wow, good for
And
him,
Dad, I said to him, congratulations. Well, Dad started, he was the inspiration to GNC, General Nutrition Centers. It
Mhm.
started as a little mama papa store in Pittsburgh,
I
Pennsylvania.
never knew that.
It was called Laxum Yogurt Shop.
Huh.
They were an amazing little family. They'd only been in America about 4 years. And oh my golly, Dad said, this is it. They had the first health food store in all Pennsylvania.
Wow.
But Dad did that all over America. He got people started. He had to have some little retail operation, and he put the Bragg health foods in on consignment. No money. They didn't put any money out. They only paid us after they sold them. Wasn't that
What an
good?
amazing concept by today's standards.
Oh my dear,
that would
today,
never happen anymore,
no,
would it?
today you have to have thousands of dollars to even open the door. Now,
Absolutely.
Richard, tell us more about what you're doing.
Okay, well, I'm a traditional naturopath, and I'm also an acupuncturist, and I'm also a nutrition therapist. So in my clinical practice, people come to me for a variety of health reasons, much like they do to you.
Yes.
And I prescribe food, including your products, and I prescribe supplements, and sometimes I use lasers, and sometimes I use acupuncture needles. So it's a pretty broad practice, and I have everything from Lyme disease to people with headaches to people with insomnia. One of the things I do frequently is work with balancing neurotransmitters when people have depressions, and I actually do that with amino acids rather than with Prozac. And when you balance the amino acids, which are the precursors of the neurotransmitters, people start to improve.
Well, my father was one of the first ones to make people with the Bragg liquid aminos realize, and ours is non-GMO
Mhm.
liquid aminos, and we do not believe in GMO soybeans. And now also our new product is the Bragg coconut aminos.
Really? I haven't seen
Yeah.
that one yet.
Well,
I have to
you
try
will.
that.
It will be out.
Okay. I'll look
It'll
for
be
it.
out on the stores in the next couple of weeks, Richard.
Wow,
And
exciting.
it's delicious.
Okay.
But some people can't handle soy.
Yeah, a lot of allergies to soy.
It's just like some people can't handle peanuts or wheat. And
Yes.
so we're trying to broad to help everybody.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
I'm not a big fan of soy, so I'm delighted to hear you're doing that.
Thank you.
That's a great
Thank you.
expansion.
Now tell me more.
Well, speaking of GMO, they've just passed allowed GMO alfalfa, which means that all of our dairy products will now, except for organic ones, will now be fed GMO food. So now more than ever,
Oh.
people who are going to eat any kind of cattle, any kind
Oh.
of beef product, including dairy, really need to eat organically, because otherwise they're definitely getting, you can imagine the accumulation of all that alfalfa
my
the cow eats
gosh.
in its lifetime, all getting into their system and poisoning and taking
Oh my
their meat
dear,
and their milk.
my father was so against GMOs, genetically engineered foods.
Yes.
It's so terrible what they do. When you think about it, Richard, how Monsanto has done this. And now, unfortunately in Hawaii, seeing that I just came in from Hawaii, and I want you to know that they've taken over thousands of acres
Yes.
and are having seeds. They're terrible seeds that
It's true.
cannot go on.
It's poisoning wine.
Their seeds can, in other words, the farmers in South America, if they're forcing them to buy their seeds, and you see a heritage seed gives every year, the plant will blossom, the seeds will come, and they save the seeds from year to year.
Right.
But guess what? The seeds that they bought from Monsanto, they're sterile.
They're called Terminator seeds.
They're deadly.
Yeah.
Terminator seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my golly, some of the farmers, they can't afford to buy the new seeds every year. Some of them have committed suicide.
Yes, it's very
And,
sad.
and Johnny Appleseed, he came all over, oh my golly, he gave seeds out to farmers all on the East Coast. Apple seeds, plant them. People, everybody had apple trees growing in their yard.
Right. Well, you know, I say this a little playfully, but not entirely. Now that you've started a new product with your coconut aminos,
Yes.
the next product you need to consider is GMO-free beer. In Germany, they've just discovered the glyphosate,
No.
the poison, in all their beers.
No.
Yes.
Well, do you know what happened about 10 years ago? The Canadians were dying. They were dying. They were drinking beer.
Yes.
And probably it all started about then. And the beer companies had big lawsuits. And I remember about 40 years ago in Philadelphia, a young man came. He said, "Would you like to see my grandfather's beer plant?" I said, "I've never had a beer in my life." Just like I've never had an aspirin.
Well, I know, of course, you're not really going to make beer.
Oh,
I
no,
was just talking about the
but
GMOs.
anyway, but let me tell you. But Dad heard him invite me. He said, "Yes, I'd like to see that beer plant." Well, they had big containers, and then there was a little wire going up on the side. He said, "See that little wire?" He said, "That's what we call flash aging." Flash aging. And he said, "I don't drink it." Dad said, "Good." Patricia and I don't drink beer. See? But flash aging, you see, and there's, oh my golly, and look at a lot of the wines, what they're doing to them.
Well, they're sprayed with a fluoride-based thing, which of course we know fluoride's another one of those
A killer.
toxics.
A killer.
Yeah.
Oh, fluoride is terrible.
So the wine is sprayed with a fluoride-based pesticide now.
Oh,
So
isn't
we're
it
getting
terrible?
fluoride in our wine, glyphosate in our beer. We're in trouble. We have to stop drinking.
Oh, well, now listen, I've never had a beer.
No, I know you
I've
don't.
never had a beer, vodka, or whiskey in my life. Someone gave me a treasured bottle of their wine up the coast here. They said this, and I accepted it because I didn't want to be rude and say no.
Of course.
And so I had it there about 2 years, and I gave it to a friend of mine who likes beer. She said, "Patricia, it was the best beer the best wine we ever tasted. Where
Wow.
did you get it?" And I said, "Up the coast near San Luis Obispo."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "The best she ever tasted."
Wow.
And of course, I don't see how people drink wine.
I
But I
drink
know
sparingly.
Jesus had it, but maybe it was like grape juice. Grape juice. Now tell us more.
Well, the other topic we talked about a little bit is electromagnetic hypersensitivity.
Oh my golly, yes. Now listen, in Hawaii, about 10 years or more ago, you got me interested in all that.
Mhm.
And I had a woman come to our offices, our campus here in Santa Barbara, and she checked everything out and gave us plugs.
Right.
Plugs, she set them up in all the offices,
They're called Stetzer filters.
and we still have them.
Right. And now they make a new brand called Green Wave, which also work very well.
And
they
tell
reduce.
them what that does.
Sure. So, of course, the Earth has natural background radiation in certain frequencies from the sun and the pulse of the Earth, but we've never been exposed to computers and microwaves and cell phones and cell phone towers, and they're very disruptive, but because they're invisible, most people don't notice them. One of my colleagues is a man from Sweden named Olli Johansson. He's a professor of neurology at the Karolinska Institute, which is a place where they give out the Nobel Prize in Medicine. So he's quite a bright guy. And he's coined the term electrohypersensitivity, which is now recognized as a condition, a medical condition in Sweden.
I think there'll be millions of
Right.
people suffering
And
from
he
that.
writes lots of papers on this topic, and I'm convinced that it's very serious. You know, you talk about what you think, what you drink, and what you eat. Well, it's also the radiation you're exposed to.
I never hold my cell phone to my ear,
Very important.
and you had me put a little gadget on it.
Right. In fact, in an Apple phone, if you find the right setting under privacies and you go into legal, it says right in the phone, don't touch the phone, don't put it to your ear, keep it at least a half inch away from your body, and use a speaker. I mean, it's amazing that people don't know that.
Yes,
They plaster it to
and
their
at
ear,
night,
stick it in their bra.
that's right. And at night, turn everything off.
Right. Crucial.
When you're sleeping, turn your hi-fi or is it Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, turn everything off. And all your computers, everything should be shut down.
When we sleep, our immune system sleeps, so we're much more susceptible to those radiations. In fact, in a third of the time we sleep, we get twice as much exposure because our nervous system's off guard. So it's really important, especially at night, but not to carry the phone in your bra, in your back pocket.
Oh, my dear, do you know a friend of mine, he claims that he got prostate cancer because his cell phone in his Levi's.
It's the
in the
same with
pocket.
breast cancer increases.
And the women, yeah, they could put it there. And now I remember that I was going to buy a house here in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
It was Avocado Grove.
Nice.
And I had Bill Galt come about 8 years ago. And I was so enthused about it, I even put $20,000 down to hold it.
Uh-huh.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
To hold it.
Mm-hmm.
But Bill Galt said he's new avocados. He had an avocado farm down near Fallbrook, near La Jolla.
Uh-huh.
He said, Patricia, before you finalize that, let me see that avocado farm. And so he came. He said, these avocados look like they're dying, these trees. He even went up the trees. He like a monkey. He went up the trees. And then he went to see the well. He said, this doesn't look good at all. And then he said he wanted to see the house. And then he looked outside and he saw a big utility pole with a big box on it.
Transformer.
And he said, Patricia, this is only 60 feet from where you would be sleeping.
Yes.
This is not good. There's a woman in Santa Barbara that checks all of the radiation waves and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to the well man who put this well in. I want to talk to the woman that will check all the radiation, everything here. Well, 3 days later, Bill Galt talked to the well man, and he talked to the woman that came for $500, went through all the house, went through everything, all outside. She said, if you sleep in this bed, you will be fried.
Mm-hmm.
I said, really? And it just happens the people who were selling it both came down with cancer.
Wow.
And that's why they were selling their avocado farm.
Wow.
And now wait, I haven't finished it. So there they are, both with cancer, and that big bedroom that looking out all over Santa Barbara County and the ocean, everything. If I slept in that, I would be fried. Tell me why. She said all the wires go in the ceiling here, are coming right down here, and that big wire right out there, 60 feet from here, all those big, powerful wires. Wow, Patricia, this is dangerous. You don't want this house.
Right.
And so then Bill Galt talked to the well man. He said, well, I'm afraid you'd be lucky in time to have enough water to flush the toilets.
Oh, wow.
And because he asked him, why are the trees dying? He said, there's not enough water in the well.
Wow. Well, you, go ahead, please.
I put it in. I put that well in 10 years ago. I worked on the well. I made it even deeper. I've done everything I can to, that's it.
Well, you touched on another topic. So I also have these German meters, and part of my practice, I go to people's homes and offices and test.
You do?
I do. And one of the worst things to test are the smart meters.
Oh, listen, wow, Richard, I read about that.
Yes.
Maybe you sent it to me.
Probably.
Maybe you did. And guess what? Without my permission, they put a smart meter here on my farm in Santa Barbara.
Correct.
Now, how can I get that take removed?
Well, I'm not an expert in the legal part of it, but presumably you can insist that they take it off.
Oh my golly, I never approved of that, never.
There are metal shields that you can put behind it and wrap around it. So it's there for two reasons. The claim that it's there for is because now they don't have to send a meter guy to read it.
Well, my dear,
broadcasts.
yeah, I heard that they were worried about a dog would bite them.
Right.
Yeah, they came on the property, they gave several cases where the poor person was bitten or the woman was attacked by the dog and this and that. But they should have had permission to come on my farm.
Of course. So the excuse is we're more efficient without the meter readers. The reality is that it's putting out at very high frequency pulses,
my gosh.
more intense than a cell phone. And also, although this hasn't yet been implemented, but much like Facebook and Google, you get these free services because you're the product and they socially engineer and figure out
Yes.
what you are. Well, the smart meters are now hooked up so that appliances and light bulbs have chips in them. And the smart meter can actually read, oh, Patricia turns her fluorescent bulb on. I know you wouldn't use fluorescent, but she turns her bulb on from this time to this time, and she watches this television show, and she does this thing, and they suddenly know your whole pattern, and then they start sending you ads for this thing. This is social engineering of our future.
Do you have a website?
I do.
Tell our
It's
guests.
wellnessworkshawaii.com.
Wellness Works, WORKS.com.
No, wellnessworkshawaii.
Wellness Works Hawaii, HAWAII.com.
And I now work part-time in the North Lake Tahoe area in Incline Village, as well as in Hawaii.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. When I was a little girl, I remember we used to go camping, and we had a cabin up at Truckee River.
Oh, nice.
And it was, and I would go swimming in the Truckee River. I loved it. Even though we had a cabin, I loved sleeping in the tent right next to the river.
Lots of good ions.
And the train would choo choo choo, toot toot toot, choo choo choo. And the train would go through about twice a day. We were all excited, and we'd wave to the engineer, you
How
know.
fun.
And it was a lot of fun. And then my godfather, Diehl developed the Sahara Tahoe
Mhm.
there at Lake Tahoe.
South Lake Tahoe, yes.
South Lake Tahoe, and then he built also in Reno. He was hoping to make Reno another Las Vegas, like he did in Las Vegas.
Right.
I don't gamble, I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I live a very clean, pure life. I've never worn nail polish, never worn a bra, and I do it simple, Richard. Everything stands up by itself. Woohoo! Exercise. And my father taught me that you walk tall and are tall. And people would say, my golly, with all those vitamins you take, Patricia, and everything, why are you short? Well, listen, I came to the world at 2 pounds.
No kidding,
My,
I never knew
mo-
that.
my mother's car was hit by a big truck, and it rolled over 3 times. And I was so shook up in her belly, woo, I thought it was time to come out. And they got my mother off the stretcher, and the water broke, and guess what came out in the water?
You.
Me. And 8 people put a finger on me. And here I am going strong in the Bragg exercise class in Hawaii,
That was fun.
6 days a week, 9 to 10:30. Guess what? 43 years.
Mm-hmm.
All
Still
free,
going strong.
all free, Fort Tarusi, Waikiki Beach. And Richard is in there.
Uh-huh.
Jacqueline, Clint Eastwood, the Beach Boys. A lot of famous people have been there. Yes. Now tell us all about Tahoe. Tahoe, I remember as a child, we were always worried. I did water skiing. Oh, it was wonderful. Paddling, and everything at Lake Tahoe. Is there any pollution at all?
No, Lake Tahoe is quite a pristine area. It doesn't have much in the way of air pollution, water pollution. It's pretty clean. I really like it. And of course, it's up at about 6,000 feet, so the air is fresh. And I left out a project. I'm in the middle of writing a manual for a startup nutrition company. I'm about 80 pages into writing it now. I may or may not turn it into a book eventually, but it's a new company that's going to sell programs in nutrition. And they've hired me to write this manual. And it's been great fun to consolidate my
you know
thoughts.
what's very popular? Bragg. We have all the Bragg books now, ebooks.
That's
We
right.
sell, I think, $1 a book.
Really?
$1 a book.
That is a great price.
And
They're
so,
good.
I mean, there's so many people that want to learn about nutrition, but you go into a store, my golly, $20, $30 for a book.
Yes.
So if you make things reasonable, but sounds wonderful. Will they find out about this on your website?
Eventually, the startup company hasn't started yet. They've hired me in advance to write the manual, and I'm still working on it. It's a
All
big
right,
project.
that sounds
It'll
wonderful.
be there eventually, thank you.
Well, I tell you what, we need to have, America is way down on the list in health in the world.
Sadly.
And it's very sad, very sad. Some of the poor countries, believe it or not, are healthier people. Healthier people.
And spend less on medicine than we
Yeah,
do.
that's right. In fact, I was just at the Honolulu Marathon, and honestly, practically all the foreigners win the Honolulu Marathon.
Mhm.
The Russian girls, many of the Russian girls for the last 20 years have won. And our book, Miracle of Fasting, by the way, has been the #1 health book in Russia now for over 40 years.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
It's impressive.
Yes. So I'm very thankful for yesterday I was with the teen champion soccer players and basketball players on teen radio here in Santa Barbara. And they had a young girl. She was 8 years old. She won the hoop contest to get the basketball in the hoop. They had a contest throughout California. And 8 years old, she won.
Wow.
She got every ball in the hoop. She won throughout California. It was up in Las Vegas just 2 weeks ago.
That's great.
And so they asked her, how old were you when you started playing? She said, 4 years old. 4 years old. She said, my father. And I remember as a child, we had a basketball hoop on the top of the back of our garage. And guess what? The boys would come over and play basketball, and they'd show me how to do it, and I loved it.
Good for you. So I'll bet she's a Bragg user.
Oh, yes, she is. She is. Well, we're very proud. We have champions. We have my cousin Don Bragg, first one to pull 16 feet in the world. I was at the Rome Olympics 1960. It seems just like yesterday. Think of that. Over 56 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Seems just like yesterday. And he was the first one to go 16 feet up in the air.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, anyway, it's so nice to have you here in Santa
Nice to
Barbara,
be here.
Richard.
Thank you for inviting me today.
And when will you be back in Hawaii?
Not for several months now. I've got plans on the mainland.
All
Lots
right.
of work here.
All right. Well, as you know, I lead to go to the world's biggest health convention, Natural Foods Expo, and I'll be seeing a lot of our followers from all over the world, come even from Russia, England, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Ireland, Scotland, England, Spain, all over the world. And it's fun. After all, we're all brothers and sisters. We shouldn't have wars or killing. And I'd like to have the world cleaned up. No GMOs, no fluoridation, no fracking.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
And stop all of this. What are these chemtrails? I'm against all those. I see them. Are they at Tahoe?
Not as much as they are in Southern California.
Oh my golly.
Yes.
Why are they doing these, do you think?
Of course, no one knows for sure. Well, someone knows, but no one in the public knows for sure. But the theory that I heard that makes the most sense is that the Earth is heating up so fast that they put these microparticles of aluminum, which is reflective, and so it blocks some of the heat from coming in and it reflects some of the heat out. Now, of course, it has unintended byproducts that now that it hits the soil, all these toxic minerals get in the soil, and of course we breathe them as they're coming down, and then they get in the soil and get in our plants. But I don't think that they're really out to kill us directly. I think they're trying to block the sun from being hotter and global warming to accelerate, and as I say, unintended consequences.
Well, I know about 5 years ago, someone had a beautiful Rolls Royce here, and he claimed that they came down, landed on the hood of his Rolls Royce, and it was in the paper that said it pitted
Mm.
his hood.
Acidic?
So yes,
Mhm.
so the mercury and things in it,
Right.
terrible. And now a lot of people that have, I can remember my friends' children had mercury silver fillings.
Right.
And I said, let me call that dentist. What's his name? And I lived up in Palo Alto. I was furious. And so I called the dentist office. I said, I'm just visiting my friends here, and I hear the dentist put all these silver fillings, which have mercury in it, in their children's teeth. Does he know how toxic that is? She said, one moment. He's just in between patients. I'll let you talk to him. I said, hi, doctor. I'm a friend here visiting the family that you take care of their children. And you just put a lot of little gum line and some mercury fillings. And he said, oh, yes, I do use those silver fillings. I have for years. I said, they're very toxic. Oh, no, they're not.
Right.
I said, well, I just read the latest on them, doctor, that they are. They have mercury and a lot of other things. Tell me about them.
Okay, so if you were to ask a dental hygienist or an assistant what the box that the mercury fillings, the amalgam fillings come in, because they have to be mixed, right? It's an
Yes.
amalgam of copper and tin and mercury and silver, 51% mercury. What's it say on the box? It says two things. There's a skull and crossbones,
That,
This is
and that
dangerous.
means death.
and it says do not touch, do not mix this in an enclosed area, do
Yes.
not breathe it. Okay, so it's toxic before it goes in your mouth. Then if you ask the dentist and he's honest, you say, okay, you're going to replace a filling. What do you do when you take the mercury filling out of the mouth? You just throw it in the trash. He goes, oh my gosh, you couldn't do that. The EPA would arrest me. It's toxic waste. I have to put it in a special container and send it to a special dump. So, Patricia, the obvious answer to this question is, how can it be toxic before it goes in your mouth, and toxic when it comes out of your mouth, but suddenly 2 inches from your brain, it's perfect.
Oh,
Just
isn't
help
it
yourself.
terrible? Yes. And I was so upset. And so the dentist ends up hanging up on me. Hanging up on me.
I'll tell you another quick story. So the technical word for mercury is quicksilver, and the original Dental Association was against mercury fillings. And then the American Dental Association started putting mercury fillings, the quicksilver fillings, and they were banned by the other guys, but eventually they won politically, and they became known as quacks. Quicksilver, quacksilver. So quacks were actually, which of course we've called chiropractors and people like you and me quacks, right? Because we're not doing the straight ANMA thing.
I love ducks, by
But
the
the
way.
origin of that is people who put mercury fillings in people's mouth.
Isn't it terrible? Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm glad that you so, by the way, if you have some silver mercury fillings taken out, you have to tell them that it has to be very
Yes.
carefully done. Tell them.
Correct. So mercury at room temperature is a vapor. So when they grind your teeth, a lot of it gets vaporized, you inhale it, and it gets in your system, and too much of it could lead to Parkinson's disease-like symptoms, neurological issues. So the very minimum is a rubber dam, which is a piece of rubber that they put in your mouth so you can't
don't
swallow
swallow it,
you
yes.
can't breathe it. But better, that you also have auxiliary oxygen, and the dentist has better than the normal high-speed suction to clean it out so he's not breathing
And
it.
you can suck it out.
And then after that, to take high doses of vitamin C and to be very hydrated and to protect your liver with curcumin or milk thistle or something like this, so that all your organs are protected both from oxidation from the mercury, but also from cleaning your organs. So it's
Yeah.
really important to do it right. The risks otherwise, statistically aren't massive, but if it happens to you, they're quite severe. So yes,
By
you're
the
right.
way, there's a group of holistic dentists.
Yes.
There's an association.
Biological dentists,
Yes,
American
and-
Biological
yeah.
Dentist Association.
Yes, and so you can look it up. Tell them again.
It's the American Biological Dentist or Dental Association.
And you can look it up for a dentist in your area.
Correct.
Well, listen, this has been wonderful. Richard is an encyclopedia of knowledge to keep you healthy and youthful and having a long, happy life. And so tell your website
And you're a
again.
pioneer and a health crusader that's inspired all of us in my
Oh,
profession.
thank you.
You and your dad both.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Now, tell them again
My
your
website, www.wellnessworkshawaii.com, Richard Diehl, D-I-E-H-L. Thank you so much for having
And
me
it's
today,
been
Patricia.
wonderful to have you here on the Bragg Organic
My
Farm in
first
Santa
time.
Barbara, California.
I love
Seems
it.
like just yesterday you were at my farm in Santa Barbara, pardon me, in Australia.
All right.
And it was wonderful
Now I'm here
having
for
you
this
there.
one.
That's right.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Thank you, Richard.
Bye-bye, everybody.